So we've already seen that assessing risk is simply a matter of time, taking time to stop and think. A simple way of remembering this is think SAFE, S-A-F-E. Stop, assess, formulate and execute. Risk assessment is a case of looking for the unusual, looking for anything that doesn't fit within your experience. Just stop and think about the task and the environment you are in. It may be the specific job you've been asked to do. It may be a lack of appropriate tools or PPE. No matter what your concern is, you need to consider, is this likely to cause harm to yourself or others? When you arrive at a workplace, stop and think about the task. What are you going to be doing? Where are you going to be working? Where will you be walking? Where's your vehicle? Once you've identified where you'll be working, you can begin to identify the potential hazards in your work area, or hazards you may create in the activity you're about to perform. It might be that the task creates dangers for yourself or others. You need to be clear what hazards exist. They can be physical, chemical, biological, or ergonomic. You're going to be going out to do a job that you've been trained to do, but it's the environment and the conditions that will change. And that's what you need to be aware of. Someone who is new to a particular job or task isn't necessarily going to know all of the pitfalls, so additional supervision may be necessary. A job you've done 1,000 times in the summer suddenly becomes far more dangerous in winter when it's wet or icy. For engineers, strange working environments are always going to be something that will crop up from time to time, and although the task might be the same, the environment is completely alien. There is one very important point to remember here. That is, for any special environment, be it a factory, building site, farm or chemical works, there will be local safety procedures which you'll need to follow, and these will dramatically reduce associated risks. However, even normal environments can contain dangers that you may not expect. There could be chemicals present. Chemical hazards are associated with solids, liquids and gases, with the potential to cause injury or harm to people exposed to them. Biological hazards can be really nasty. Weil's disease is carried by rats and passed on in their urine. The disease can be picked up through contact with cuts, bruises, eyes, nose and mouth. Ergonomic hazards could cause harm due to the workplace. So you need to take into consideration your interaction with the environment or machinery. How you sit at your PC is a good example. Once you have identified the hazards, you need to identify who is at risk. Are you putting yourself at risk? Are you putting work colleagues and members of the public at risk? Who is more vulnerable? The young, inexperienced staff, pregnant women, people with disabilities, lone workers. Something that is often overlooked is time. What do we mean by time? Well, firstly, the frequency and duration of the task. It may be a simple task and you can perform it very well, but how often and how long are you going to be doing it? A regular activity repeated over and over again can lead to a strain on the body or simple mistakes. But you also need to consider what time of day or time of year. If you're working near a school, it's pretty obvious that when the bell goes, 600 over-inquisitive children will be piling through the gates. If it's late in the day, light conditions may deteriorate, making the task much harder. If it's winter time, there may be ice and snow to contend with. It may be windy and you're going to be climbing a ladder. Once we're confident that we know the where, what, who and when, we can set about taking appropriate precautions. Ideally, you want to take any risk out of a job, eliminate it completely. That may mean looking at alternative ways of doing something, but in the real world, that's not always possible. So we then have to reduce the risks as much as we reasonably can. This might be using specialist tools to make a job easier, or by following specified safety procedures. Where possible, we need to isolate hazards by setting out warning signs and guarding equipment. We can control hazards by ensuring we are fully trained and competent to perform a specific task. Procedures change, equipment is updated, regulations change. Are you up to date? Control may also mean that supervision is required for specialised tasks or situations. Safety clothing is essential. A few seconds taken to put on eye protection have unquestionably saved someone's eyesight, so don't think you'll get away with it. Even something as simple as correct protective footwear has prevented a slip. I know you know all of this, but remember, it could save your life. Okay, so you checked everything. You've got all the control measures in place. You can start work. You're safe? Well, yes, for the time being. But remember, things can change. The weather, the light, the traffic, your ability to work. You may be getting tired. Whatever it may be, always keep an eye on things and review the situation if necessary. Finally, there may come a time, a place or a situation where you're not quite sure. It may only be something small, but if you aren't confident about carrying out a task, well, that's the time to ask, and if necessary, get your manager to perform a local risk assessment. Remember, think SAFE. S-A-F-E. Stop, assess, formulate, execute. It's definitely worth it.